Hello everyone, thank you for joining me in the kitchen tonight. I've been told I have to introduce myself because I don't introduce myself. I don't introduce myself at the front of each video because it feels a bit dorky to me, but also because you guys know me. You know who I am and what I do, so it just feels wrong to say, hello, I'm Kath Armstrong from the Cheapskates Club at the front of every video, but that's who I am and that's what I do. So that'll be my introduction from now on, I guess. I'll try and perfect it and make it a bit nicer for you. So, how are you surviving this heat? It's 35 in Melbourne at the moment. Our little, yep, is still saying 34. Our weather station thingamajiggity that we have outside. Whee! Wouldn't be so bad if we were used to it, but it just came like that out of the blue. A really hot, dry day. And tomorrow's going to be cold, and then the weekend, winter again, I guess. Never mind. That's how it goes in Melbourne. What do we expect? It's spring in Melbourne. We can't expect anything else. But never mind. I'd rather it was nice for the weekend. We have some plans, but not to worry. We'll survive. So, hello Maureen. Hello Roz. Hello Julie. Hello Freya. Hello Priya. Hello Tanya. Hello Michelle. Hello Narelle. Hello Outback 6. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. It's just me tonight, guys. Hannah has a prior engagement that she couldn't get out of, so she's had to go. But that's all right. I'll muddle along, and I'm sure you will bear with me. As you know, this is a live show. This is my kitchen. Maureen, the lovely Maureen, can vouch. This is my kitchen. She was in it on Saturday. This is my kitchen. This is our home. So, yes, the doorbell might ring and my phone might go beep and the oven timer might not work and whatever. It's, you know, it's a bit like comedy capers here most of the time. So, but it's our home. It's where we live. So, when things go wrong, that's the normal run of the mill around here. That's what happens. Nothing ever goes to plan, or rarely goes to plan. That's why we have plan A, B, C, D, E. I have a whole planner full of plans. So who else has joined us? Veronica. Hello, Veronica. Hello, Karen T. Annette. Hello. Everyone, Annie's home. Here's the lovely Annette. She has just posted a new YouTube video. You can pop over to her channel and have a look at it about how she's doing her planner. Lorraine, hello, welcome. Hello, Glennis. I had a nice day. It was roasting hot, but I got up really early. Well, I didn't get up really early this morning. I got up a few minutes earlier than normal. Closed all the house up because I opened everything last night. Closed it all up. Closed all the windows, closed the doors, put the door sausages against the doors so the wind wouldn't blow under them. Made sure the windows were tightly shut. Closed the blinds and the drapes. Turned the fans on. And the house stayed reasonably cool most of the day, which was really nice. The front of our house gets faces north, so we get full-on north sun. Thankfully, we only have 2 windows at the front, but it still gets hot in there. So I try my best to keep it cool. I'll be talking more about keeping things cool for summer further down the track. It seems a bit irrelevant right now, I guess, when the weather's all over the place for everybody, although for everybody down south, if you're up north, it's not because it's blazing hot. Okay, who else has joined us? Julian, Rod, hello. Hello, Diana. You're welcome, Annette. Okay, so I talked on Tuesday, I mentioned on Tuesday I was going to talk to you about how to use your freezer properly to its full potential, to get the most out of it, because it's a really valuable piece of real estate in your home. If you notice the freezers in supermarkets and how they're displayed and how they're laid out, that's valuable real estate for grocery manufacturers, frozen food manufacturers. So they pay a lot to get their goods where they are in those freezers for a reason, because they are front and center. When you're planning your own freezer at home, you want to utilize that real estate, for want of a better word, so that you get the most value out of it, and your freezer actually saves you money and not costs you money, because freezers can cost you a lot of money if you don't use them properly. So who else has joined us? Nobody? Oh, Felicity. Hello, Felicity. You're welcome. Okay, but before we get on to the freezer stuff, I just want to quickly make the coconut cake, because it takes a while to bake, and I'm actually going to do, I posted the recipe, was up on our Cheapskates Chatter Facebook page Monday this week, maybe Sunday. It's a really simple recipe. It's really easy. Kids could do it by themselves, and it's really nice all year round. But I'm going to do it, instead of doing a big cake, I'm going to do cupcakes, because I prefer to do cupcakes. They go further. All you need, I'll get started on the cake though, all you need, it's a moist coconut cake. It's really easy. It's flour, sugar, a couple of eggs, some coconut cream, and some coconut. Can't get much easier than that. So, oops, I've lost my trusty apple green Tupperware. They must be in the cupboard. Here we go. Sorry, folks. 2 cups of self-raising flour. Oh no, I didn't want to make a mess tonight. Okay. 2 cups of self-raising flour. Just like so. 1 1/4 cups of caster sugar, it says in the recipe. I just use regular white sugar. It does the same job. So 1/4 cup. And then 1 cup. Okay. Now, the recipe says to sift the flour. You can sift the flour with an old-fashioned sifter if you have one. It just helps to aerate it a bit. And if you're not a baker and your self-raising flour's been standing for a while, it helps to redistribute the rising agents, which can tend to sink to the bottom if your self-raising flour stands for a while. Ever had a cake flop and not known why? Could be because the flour is old, or it's been in the one position for a while. I know a lot of cooks that actually store their self-raising flour upside down, so that when they flip it over, it gets mixed up again. Flip it over to open it. Otherwise, if you don't have a sifter, just use a whisk. I have this giant balloon whisk, but when I bought it, I've had it for a long time. When I bought it, it's really big. I thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to use this. It's too big. My wrist won't be strong enough. But it works. Okay. 225 grams of coconut. This is just desiccated coconut from Aldi. Aldi, this one's from. 225 grams is just under half a packet. They usually come in 500 gram packets. Again, just give it a mix through. 2 eggs. Now, if your eggs are very little, go 3. Like if they're little bantam eggs, tiny, teeny eggs, go 3. Okay, so I've got 2 eggs here. Now remember, I was always taught to crack the egg into another container. Yep, just to make sure it's fresh. And then if it's going into a cake or pudding or something similar, unless it says not to beat them a little bit first to break them up. So that's what I always do. Just whip them around. We're not going for fluff or anything here. We just want to mix them up. And then the secret ingredient is coconut cream. Now this is, I don't know, premium coconut cream. $2 at Coles. This one is Admiral coconut cream. Now it's a light coconut cream. You can use regular or light. If you want to cut the fat a bit, use the light, that's fine. This one's a bit more expensive. It's about $3.50. And here's a couple of AM light coconut cream, but it only comes in small tins. So you need about 400 mils, 1 can of coconut cream. So that's roughly 1.5 of the small tins. So for now, we're using this one. Give it a shake up first. Now, if you only have coconut milk, that's fine. You can substitute, in most recipes, you can substitute coconut milk for coconut cream. It's not an issue. Okay, peel it back. Add that in. It's not coconut. Put the eggs in. Let me get my screw reaper. Okay. Take out the whisk. Doing this backwards, folks, and just mix it up. Just mix it so it's like an ordinary cake batter. If you've got an electric beater, use the electric beater. This might need an extra egg, perhaps, because it's a bit dry. Let's see how it goes. Now, this is just plain according to the recipe. Just the plain, follow the recipe: coconut, flour, sugar, coconut cream, the eggs. But don't be afraid if you like chocolate and coconut, because chocolate and coconut go together really well, to add some cocoa to it and make chocolate coconut cake. If you do that, you're going to add about 3 tablespoons of cocoa and perhaps a teaspoon of vanilla extract to the mix. That's not too bad. There we go. So it's just a nothing fancy mix. All right, let me move my scales. Let me get my cupcakes. Move all these bits out of the way so you can see. There we go now. No, my dress isn't on inside out. It's the way it's supposed to be. It has a crossover V, and then there's a sort of a pleaty plackety thing here. It's old, very old. Okay, now for cupcakes, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me if no labels on them. Oh no, it is on inside out. Look at that. No, never mind. These things happen. See, I told you this is live comedy capers here. Okay. I use an ice cream scoop to do cupcakes. Okay, better. Sort of makes them all the same size. I have a smaller one for doing biscuits, which makes life a little bit easier. I've already put the oven on to preheat. At 180 degrees. Okay. The only saving grace, Glennis, is I haven't been wearing it all day because I've been in and out all day, so wouldn't that be hilarious? Hannah didn't even tell me my top was on inside out.
I didn't notice.
See, she didn't notice. There you go. What hope have I got? My daughter didn't even notice. Okay, so here we go. Right, let me catch up. Okay. Oh, and it says to add crushed pineapple to this. That would be nice. it would also be really nice, oops, throwing it away here, with coffee.
Ooh, yeah.
So you would have 2 or 3 teaspoons of coffee, depending on how strong you like your coffee flavour. Dissolve it in just a little bit of milk. Oops. There we go. And beat that through too. And have a coffee per cake. Okay. Threw that away. There. And get rid of this. Rightio. Okay. They're ready to go in the oven. They're ready to go in the oven. I'm looking at the wrong thing. They're ready to go in the oven. So 180 degrees, and I'll try them for 15 minutes first to see how they go. Set the timer. Okay, there we go. All right, try them for 15 minutes first, see how they go. They may need a little bit longer, but it's hard to tell because coconut is one of those things that if it's very moist, will take a bit longer. If it's not very moist, it won't take as long to cook. Okay, so drink of water. Did you drink my water?
Yeah.
All right, now we can get on to, hello Vicky. Oh, Victoria says she'll use her planner a lot. I hope so. No point having it if you're not going to use it. Okay. Oh, Glennis. Look, I've gone out. I've had odd shoes on. I've had odd socks on. I've forgotten to do my hair. I've flown out of the house. Oh, God, this was so embarrassing. Taking the kids to school, and for whatever reason, we just were in chaos that morning. Flew out of the house. Took them to school, got them there just as the bell was going. There was a couple of other mums there. I got out of the car to chat to them. Not one of them said a word. My hair was like, I had clothes on, but just, oh, my hair everywhere. They never said a word. I got home, and for whatever reason, I was fucking cleaning the bathroom or something and nearly gave myself a heart attack when in the mirror. It was awful. So, never mind. Julie, if I fell in a heap every time something happened, I'd never get out of bed in the morning, would I, Floss?
Nope.
This is our house. I think I mentioned last week about little Amy saying that her daddy said they lived in a circus. Well, trust me, it's nothing compared to the circus here sometimes. And the more I try to be super organised and very efficient, the more things go wrong. So we just roll with it. Yes, Anne, I did see that. As soon as I finished on Tuesday night, my phone went beep beep with the Woolies catalogue thing, and the first thing I saw was the Cheezels for $1.20. So I will be going past the Woolworths tomorrow morning. I will call in and I will get the enough to do us till New Year. So I need 5 for the Christmas stockings, 1 for Christmas Eve, 1 for Christmas Day, 1 for New Year's Eve, 1 for Australia Day, and 1 for me. So I'll get 10 boxes tomorrow, if they have any left, and put them away. I love Cheezels. Honestly, I like chocolate. I love Cheezels. And I deliberately don't buy them because if I did, I would just munch on them all the time. Now, I can have a whole box to myself and it will only last a week. So I just have to really curb myself with cheeses. I do like them, all that fake cheese. It's so disgustingly unhealthy, but really yummy. Okay. No, Vicky, it's definitely inside out. I can just feel it. Never mind. I don't know. I must have turned it inside out when I put it on because I took it straight off the hanger. Never mind. Okay, so Outback 6. She's been to the supermarket. Oh gosh, I'm so glad it's not just me. You know, I go out with odd shoes, odd socks. One day, just in this last winter, Hannah and I were out. We were out for the whole day, and all day I had a jumper, but I had a long sleeve t-shirt underneath it because it's really cold. All day, the sleeve of that t-shirt was annoying me, and I kept trying to pull it down. When I got oh, see, I need help even getting dressed. When I got home, I didn't have my arm in the sleeve, so the sleeve was just loose in the sleeve of my jumper. Don't even ask how I did it. I don't know. Weird things happen. Oh my gosh. Oven temperature, Priya, 180. 180 Celsius. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so there's lots of comments tonight. It's really good. What else have we got? Sorry, folks. Okie dokie. All right. So while they're cooking, let's talk about freezer. I love my freezer. When we were getting married, Wayne's mum asked us what we would like for a wedding present. She gave us a choice. Now, apparently the traditional wedding gift for the parents of the groom is a cutlery box, a cutlery set. Well, I have my great-grandmother's silver cutlery, and we had ordinary cutlery, like everyday cutlery. So I said, no, I didn't really want cutlery. She then offered us a freezer. Yes! Did our happy hands that day. Best wedding present ever. So Wayne's mum and dad bought us our first freezer, our first upright freezer for a wedding present. Now, it wasn't terribly big. It was probably stood about yay high, so I know. Might have been a bit higher. It was had 5 drawers in it anyway. And it was wonderful. It lasted for so long, but it got damaged in a move and it just never worked properly after that. So we didn't have a freezer. All we had was the freezer on the top of the fridge, which going from an upright freezer that could hold, it used to hold a whole cow, a couple of sides of lamb and piles of chicken, which in those days was enough to do us for more than a year in meat if we ate meat every night. So I really missed the freezer. But by then, of course, we had kids and we had to pay to live, we had to pay school fees. So we couldn't afford a freezer. I was saving up. But anyway, I was on the school council and I was doing tuck shop one day, which I love doing tuck shop. Kids are hilarious at tuck shop, so I just love doing tuck shop. That tuck shop one day, and principal came in and told us that we were going to get a new freezer for the tuck shop, which was really good because the one we had really wasn't big enough for tuck shop for the school. And I just went, oh, what are we going to do with this one? And she said, oh, I guess we'll sell it. And I went, how much are you going to sell it for? She went, $50. And sold. I had to ring Wayne and tell him he had to come and pick up the freezer on such and such a day and work it out. So we bought, and I think it was secondhand when the school got it, we bought a very old chest freezer. And we had that for about 15 years, I guess. It just went and went and went. And then one day I got up and I thought, the freezer isn't making a noise. So I had a look and everything still seemed frozen. So I turned the power off, turned the power back on, didn't start up, turned the power off, waited a bit longer, turned the power back on, didn't start up. So the freezer had died. So Wayne went to, we have a little sort of repair shop not too far from us. The guy's really good at repairing things, and he's out the back. He has so much stuff out the back. So Wayne went to see him, and he didn't have the bits that we needed to fix it. So we had to look for a new freezer. He actually had one that was about twice the size of what we had, which is a huge big chest freezer now that I have in the laundry, and it was only $300. Well, by then we had enough money in our household maintenance account to be able to replace the freezer. So we got that one, and it was brilliant. So then I had the freezer on top of the fridge and the big freezer in the laundry. But being me, of course, I can't resist free food. I have to take it. If someone offers me food, I will take it. If it's not something that we can use or I can preserve for later, I will pass it on, but I don't say no. So the freezer was always full. Both freezers were always full. Aldi ended up advertising a little chest freezer, a little, it's only 3 drawers, it's only a tiny little thing, about 90 litres, I think it is. It's only little, but it's just the right size for vegetables. So I said to her, and it was $179. It was very cheap. And so I said to her, did you think we could have a little freezer roll as always? Because he knows how much I love my freezers, almost as much as I love my vacuum. And he said yes. So off he went to get it. So I brought it home. So that little freezer became the fruit and vegetable freezer. So all the garden produce will be blanched or whatever and frozen and put in there. Any frozen veg I buy goes in there or whatever. Then, of course, my mum had quite a big chest freezer, and she always, her freezer, even though she lived alone, was there all the time. Family was in and out all the time, so her freezer was always full too. So, of course, when it came time to clean out Mum's house, my sister-in-law went, "No, it's old, get rid of it, get rid of it." I don't know, I'll take it. So we divided the food up between us, and I brought Mum's freezer home, and it is now outside on the veranda, and it's full too. And that's one of the tricks to keeping your freezer running efficiently, is to keep them full. I just want to check the cakes. I can smell them. Not quite, but they smell really good. Okay, so that's one of the tricks to keeping your freezers running efficiently. Keep them full. But of course, by then I had the freezer over the fridge, the freezer in the laundry, the little freezer from Aldi, and Mum's freezer. I had food everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And even with my inventories, which hang on a hook in the laundry near the big freezer, so I can, I was like, it was just such a mussed up mess. Now, I have always, because they're chest freezers and because I'm reasonably short and I'm scared of falling in and the lid closing and I'll be trapped in there, I have always used the shopping bags, the green, Aldi bags and the Coles fabric-y type bags to organise our freezers. And that works really well because I use red bags for red meat, yellow bags for chicken, blue bags for bread, cakes, desserts, sweets, muffins, that sort of thing, biscuit logs and that sort of thing. And the green ones are obviously for fruits and vegetables that don't go into the fruit and veg freezer. So that might be celery that I've diced, or eggplant that I've diced, or beans that I've picked from the garden and frozen, whatever, all go into green bags. Now, I made up a set of labels, and if you go to the Cheapskates Club website and go to the printables page, the tip sheets page, you will find over on the right-hand side, under tools and guides, there should be the freezer labels template that you can download for yourself if you want to. Now, all I did was print them out, and then I cut them out. I just guillotined them with my paper cutter tool, and I ran them through, laid them out on a laminating sheet and ran them through the laminator and then just chopped them up, punched holes in them and tied them to the bags. So there's a bag that says chicken fillets, there's a bag that says chicken wings, there's a bag that says chicken drumsticks, there's a bag that says sausages, there's a bag that says mince, there's a bag that says, there's actually a few bags that say mince because we use a lot of it. There's a couple of bags that say chops and steak, that sort of thing. There we go. Ooh. Let me just do a little, put this down on the bench. It's starting to roll now. That's my little thing that I use for cake testing. I don't think they're quite done. Maybe 5 more minutes. Rotate them so they brown evenly. They smell nice. Okay, 5 more minutes. There we go. So I organise the freezers according to the bags now, and they stack. Now, because I vacuum seal most of our meat, I do it flat. So when I put sausages into the bag to be vacuum sealed, I lay them out in a row. Chicken fillets get laid out flat. Steak, when we have it, gets laid out in a row flat, that sort of thing. I don't put it in a big clump. When I do mince, after I've weighed it out, because these days I actually weigh the mince, so I know exactly how much is. I put 400 grams in each parcel, and in each parcel in each bag, and I put it in and I press it down so that it's flat, and I make sure it goes right to the sides and out the corner before they're vacuum sealed. So the vacuum sealed packages are all flat. So they just stack neatly then in the bags, and they go into the mince, goes into the mince bag, and the chicken fillets go into the chicken fillets bag and whatever. Makes it really easy to find what I'm looking for in the freezer. It also means that we don't lose meat and we don't have mystery packages. Mum had a few mystery packages in her freezer when we brought it home, and I couldn't tell what they were, so we had a few odd meals. But you know, if you've got a mystery package, it just makes life exciting, doesn't it? Why be dull and know what you're going to eat? Oh, Victoria, isn't it great? There's Tucker Box freezers. Victoria's saying she's got her mum's Tucker Box freezer. Those Tucker Box freezers just seem to go like the old washing machines, just go and go and go. They are amazing. So anyway, all right. Hello, Barb. Okay. 80's still going strong. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Diana. I don't set out to be quite so hilarious. But anyway, not to worry. Okay. In regards to the meat, the price of Aussie lamb is ridiculous. Yes, it is, Annette, but it's just going to get worse. I would suggest, let me finish the freezers first. So now I've got all these freezers. This one, I don't know if you'll be able to see, you probably won't, is bread. Oh, and butter at the moment. Vegetables in the little upright. So peas, corns, carrots, beans, stewed apple, the stewed rhubarb, the celery, the diced capsicum, everything goes in there. Then I split between the 2 chest freezers at the moment, depending on how much of each thing I've got. Now I pack them into the bags, and for the big freezer, the bags have to go in long ways like that. For the little freezer, they go in this way. So the handles, you know, and I try and put the red bags all on top of each other, the yellow bags on top of each other, the green bags, the blue bags, whatever, so that I know that corner's red, so it's all red meat. And I can tell by the tag what's in it. So if the top one's steak and I want mince and it's underneath, I just have to lift the bag out, take out the packet and pop it back in. And it saves so much angst in trying to gravel through the freezer. It also means that the freezer is really full. There's not a lot of air pockets left in there because those air pockets cost you money. Now, when I get down, before I've done a big shop, when the meat's getting down, I save, if the kids buy soft drink, I save the soft drink bottles. I'll rinse out milk bottles. I'll fill those up with water and put them in the freezer. I usually, if I can, lift the bags out, put them at the bottom and put the bags on top. And that just helps everything to stay cold and the freezer to run much more efficiently. Now, this summer, we have been told in Victoria, but in Melbourne especially, to expect rolling blackouts, which really annoys me on so many levels. But I have 4 freezers of food. Now, I don't mind an accidental blackout, can't be helped. But these rolling blackouts, nobody can tell you how long they're going to be for, or brownouts they're calling them, not actually blackouts, brownouts. So nobody can tell you how long they're going to last for. And I know that if I keep my big freezers shut, they're good for up to 48 hours before I have to start panicking and thinking about cooking the food and finding other ways to preserve it. But the little freezers might last 24 hours if we don't open them. So I'm thinking I need to make sure that I have lots of frozen water in the freezers, because those ice blocks will act as insulation even better to keep stuff frozen while those brownouts, blackouts, whatever they want to call them, are happening. Because that's one thing I'm really worried about. I know if we lose a freezer full of food, I can claim it on our insurance. But that opens up a whole other kettle of obstructions and things to do that I don't necessarily want to deal with, and that I don't necessarily want to have to pay for, because it can impact our insurance. And I'm not sure I want to do that. So I have been saving whatever bottles, soft drink bottles, milk bottles. Hannah sometimes gets the smaller 600 ml bottles from work. We rinse them out, fill them up. I'm jamming those in every space I can in the freezer, just so it works more efficiently, because I don't want to pay more electricity, but I don't want to lose freezers full of food either. So the other thing to think about is when you're organising your freezer, there we go, when you organise your freezer, how you actually eat. Because if you don't eat a lot of meat, then it doesn't need to be as accessible as the chicken perhaps, or the fish, or the vegetables, or the fruit, or the bread, or whatever. So think about how you're doing it, how you're eating, and how much of each thing you use all the time, so you know roughly how to store it. It's a bit like laying out your pantry shelves. You're laying out your freezer for the so that you've got maximum use of the space. I'm just going to get this. My. That smells so good. Okay. Yep, done. Done like a dinner. Beautiful. I'll just turn it off. And I'll lift them onto the cake cooler. Now, clean my fingers. That would just be a perfect way to end the day, wouldn't it? Burnt fingers. Oh gosh. The other coconut recipe that I absolutely love, and I used to do this every week when the kids are at school, is coconut cookies. The recipe is in the biscuits recipe file. Oh my gosh, they're so good. They're really easy too, not very expensive to make. They taste so good, and the recipe makes heaps. So I used to make them for the kids' lunch boxes back in the days when they could have real food in their lunch boxes without getting growled at. Okay. Now, my lot will eat these just like this. I like them with a bit of icing on them, but you know, my lot will just go and devour them. But they are nice with a bit of icing on them. If you cool them and then just make an ordinary icing sugar butter, a bit of milk, some coconut in that mixture, beat it up with an electric beater so it's all nice and fluffy, and swirl that on top. It's really good. You can sprinkle, if you have shredded coconut, sprinkle some shredded coconut over the top of it just to pretty them up a bit, and they're really, really good. Now these, once they're cool in an airtight container, they will keep for 3, maybe 4 days. 3, maybe 4 days. I was thinking of toasters. I was saying, why are they thinking of toasters? Because if you think they're getting a bit stale to eat as a cake, slice them in half and toast them, and have them with a little bit of jam or a little bit of honey or a little bit of butter. There's enough fat in them, so you don't really need butter. And it's like toasted coconut bread. It's really good. Okay, now Glenys does the coloured bags too. Honestly, best idea ever. And if you're welcome to, anyone's welcome to go to the website and download that label template, the freezer label template, adapt it to whatever you do and make it your own. That's fine. It just makes life so much easier. 700-litre freezer. Oh my, that's a body and a half. I once did an interview on Radio Australia. Can't remember who I was talking to. Anyway, we were talking about all sorts of things, and she was talking about the freezer, and I said to her, oh, you know, I've got a chest freezer and I've got the freezer over the fridge, and then at that stage we still had another little one out in the garage, and she said, oh, you can stash a few bodies, couldn't you? And that became, I was a lady with enough freezers to stash bodies. That was how people would ring up and ask for if I could do an interview or talk on their show or whatever, and they wanted to talk about how many freezers I had and how many bodies they hold. I've never had a body other than beef or lamb or chicken in the freezer. But yeah, I know Hannah and I were in Costco a while ago having a sticky, and they have this massive freezer. It would be, you could fit a family in that. It was huge. It was enormous. You'd have to build a house to store the freezer. It was great. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I had a farm, used to grow on beef. Yep. Tanya has 2 freezers. Priya wants to know, if we go on holidays, do we leave the freezers? No, they are full. We've never had an issue. We've never come home to the power being out for the time we're away. And don't forget now that it's just Wayne and I that goes, and the kids are usually here on their own and doing their own thing, they would know if the power went out to check the freezers. But when they were little and we'd go away and we would be away for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, we just left the freezers running. We turned off the microwave, made sure all those things were turned off, the washing machine, all those sorts of things, but we left the freezers running. Yeah. So, because my freezers are full, it would take us months to eat them down. So, yeah. So Veronica says to freeze a cup of water, put a coin in it. Yep. And that way, if it thaws, the coin will sink when it refreezes. Yes. Julie wants to know where I get the coloured bags from. Well, they're just the shopping bags, you know, the Aldi bags, the Coles bags, the cloth ones. So they come in all different colours. So when I see a red one, if I think I need red ones, and there'll be red ones around at the moment for Christmas, I grab them. If I see blue ones, I get the blue ones, whatever I need. I just get them. They're usually about 90 cents, 99 cents each or something like that. They're not very expensive. And yeah, that's all I use. You could make them if you wanted to, but I don't know. A whole pig, a whole cow, and 6 chooks in Glennis's freezer. We should go to Glennis's house to eat. Yum! Look at all that food. Okay. All right. Now, sorry. Now, Priya's. She has a freezer that she bought from JB Hi-Fi. Wow. Priya got a $50, $250 freezer for $50. Well done. Oh, you will love it. You will love having a freezer. It's, I think last week I was talking about my stockpile is my security blanket. My freezer's like the doona on top of the security blanket. You know, it's just that little bit of extra reassurance. And it's also nice to know that if I see meat on sale, even if we're not going to eat it straight away, I have a way of preserving it so that we can eat it in the future and not use grocery money. So that frees up grocery money to buy other things, if that makes sense. Anyway, so wish we had smell-o-vision. It smells so good. Now, if you're doing the bigger cake, as the recipe says, to do a 30 centimetre cake tin. So mine is actually smaller than 30 centimetres, about 28 centimetres, and it's a little bit deeper. I always line the bottom with baking paper, just to be sure. I don't worry about the sides, I just grease the sides, but I always line the bottom with baking paper, just to be sure the cake will tip out. Because the one time I don't do it, that I need the cake to turn out perfectly, will be the time it sticks and it'll come out with a big hole in it, which we could turn upside down and fill with cream, but you know, it's not meant to happen. Okay. Okay. All right, Barb. Stay well. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. All righty. Yeah, okay. How do you keep your meat to last? When I buy meat, I buy it with meals in mind. So I know that we use 2 mince meals and 2 chicken fillet meals every week. So if I wanted to buy enough mince for a year, I'd have to buy about 96 kilos, roughly, probably a bit less. We use 400 grams, roughly a meal now. So yeah, maybe 90 kilos. And I would divide it up and that's it. Chicken fillets, we use 2 chicken fillets per meal. For the 5 of us, whether they're diced or sliced or schnitzeled, I still only use the 2 chicken fillets. So I know I need, if we use 4 a week, I need 208 chicken fillets for the year. There's roughly 6 to a 2 kilo pack from Australian butchers. So I do the calculations like that. And it's just planning, it's just meal planning around what we do. Have you seen how I stretch the roast? So we have roast lamb and a leg of lamb from one night. We eat it fresh. I slice off enough meat for another roast dinner, put it in a container, pour it with gravy, cover it and freeze it. And that's our second roast lamb dinner. Then what's left might just be enough for French shepherd's pie, which takes very little meat, very little meat, but it's really tasty and it's really easy. So if there's not a lot left on the bone, it'll be French shepherd's pie. If there's a bit more left on the bone, it might be a sweet lamb curry, that good old Aussie favourite sweet lamb curry with the sultanas and the grated apple. It can go into that, and then the bone gets made into soup or stock. So that 1 leg of lamb might have cost, these days it's going to be about $19 or $20, but I will get more meals out of it than just one. So that brings the cost back down to a reasonable limit if I can get 4 meals out of it, so I can do 2 roasts, a soup, and a curry or a French shepherd's pie on a $20 leg of lamb, that still brings it down to the $5 per meal meat limit that I have had for donkey's years. It's getting harder to stick to that, really harder, much harder to stick to that. But when I can stretch it like that, it works, and that's how it lasts. Then the other thing I do is when all the meat's vacuum sealed, I label it, and I just use a Sharpie, trusty Sharpie. Everyone knows this Sharpie is mine. It's in the top drawer. It's Mum's Sharpie. And I write on it what it is, chicken fillets and the date. So I know how old they are when I take them out. And I try to rotate them through. So next time I buy chicken fillets, the new ones go into another bag that goes on the bottom of the pile. Much like you do with your cans and your packets and things in your grocery stockpile, you rotate through it. And it just lasts. It just is planning. It's a lot of planning in the beginning to get it set up, but once it's set up, it just rolls along by itself. Now you can use your meal planners in the front of your Cheapskates planner. There's the basic stockpile list. There's the recipe tracker that you, if you need to think of ideas, find recipes and jot them down there so you know where they are. But then each week has a meal plan space where you can do a meal plan, and that's where you can stretch those meals and stretch that meat to do more. Now, we have 5 adults in our house. 3 of them are big, tall men who work reasonably hard, and so they eat more than Hannah or I do. They still only get the same amount, but I have found that I can make those chicken fillets go further by dicing them myself. Instead of buying diced chicken, I dice it myself so that I can do smaller dice. The big chunks you get in diced chicken, if you buy it diced, you'll pay more for the privilege of it, but you'll also find they're bigger. So where you take a scoop of your chicken curry and put it there, and if they're big chunks, it might only have 3 chunks of chicken in it, they're going to look at it and go, that's not very much. Whereas if you cut each of those chunks of chicken into 2 or 3 and scoop it out, they then have more chunks on their plate, and even though it's the same overall amount of meat, it looks more, and so psychologically they feel better. Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Okay. So sorry, folks. I clicked the wrong button. Okay. Do I vacuum seal as meals? Yes. So 2 chicken fillets is 1 meal. 8 sausages is 1 meal. Because I'm not a fan of sausages, so I have 1. Hannah only has 1. The boys have 2 each. So 8 sausages is 1 meal. Now, it used to be that you could say there were 20 sausages per kilo. Doesn't quite work that way anymore. 20 thin sausages per kilo or 10 thick sausages per kilo. That was way back in the olden days. Now sausages are longer and skinnier, and they're all sorts of weird sizes and shapes, so that doesn't work anymore. So you used to know if you bought 2 kilos of sausages, you would have 40 thin sausages or 20 thick sausages, depending on what you're ordering. It doesn't work like that anymore. So I count them out and I lay them out. So 8 sausages to a pack, and that's 1 meal. 400 grams of mince is 1 meal. 2 chicken fillets is 1 meal. Drumsticks, I do 10 drumsticks. Sometimes I will eat 1, sometimes I might eat 2 if I haven't had much to eat that day. It will depend. Any leftovers get frozen into another meal and put into the freezer for a freeze meal for a night when nobody wants to cook. So yeah. So cooking for 1 person can be really tricky because it's really hard to either eat the same thing a lot or divide a recipe. If your recipe serves 4, you've got to eat it for 4 nights, or you've got to be able to freeze 3 serves so that you can eat it for the next once a week for the next 3 weeks, or once a month for the next 3 months, depending on what you cook. You can do it like that. But to do that, that's another way you need to utilize your freezer properly. So you need containers to put your meals in. So if you're doing a spag bowl, you can do it, divide it up into 4 or 6, eat 1 and put the other 5 in the freezer. If you do that with everything you cook for 5 nights a week for a month, that should give you another 4 months, 3 months where you don't have to cook, because those meals are already prepared. You just need to be able to keep track of them. So you'll know that you've already done spag bowls, so you might need to do Swedish meatballs and noodles. Same deal, and just do it like that. It depends, and it really depends on how you like to eat and what your side dishes are. So I'm quite happy. I'd have salad all year round instead of hot veggies. But the troops here like hot veggies in winter and salad in summer. So freezing veggies, you still need to do veggies. So you're still steaming your 1 potato and your half a carrot and a little bit of zucchini and whatever, scoop of peas. It still works. Keep a Sharpie in. Yep. I love my Sharpies, Priya. Okay, off topic, Freya. So I cooked silverside today. How long will it keep in the fridge? 3 or 4 days. Do you still have the broth, Freya? If you can keep it in the broth, it will keep for about 5 days and stay really, really moist. If you've already tossed the broth, don't worry about it. Just keep it well wrapped and keep it in the fridge, and it'll be 3 or 4 days. We'll be fine. It will freeze if you want to slice some up and freeze it. Silverside freezes too. Okay. I cook for 3 or 4 people and I freeze it. Yeah, Lorraine. Yes, Vicky, I have vacuum sealed cooked meals. Now there's an art to that. You can either use, I haven't got any, the takeaway style containers and slip them into, pack your meal into it and slip them into the bag and vacuum seal them. Or you can try and lay it out in the bag and vacuum seal it. It's easier to vacuum seal it if it's in the container. If it's something like a stew or a casserole or meatballs or spag bowl sauce or something like that, it will be fine to be vacuum sealed in the bag without a container. Just remember that if it is moist, you might need to use a paper towel folded into thirds, slipped into the top of the bag before you seal it, and that will just stop, because have you seen the vacuum sealer actually draws the moisture up? Even if you're doing it on the moist setting, it will still draw moisture up, and that might stop the seal from actually sealing properly. Putting the paper towel in stops that moisture from getting up that high. Then when it's frozen and thawed, snip the top off to open the bag, just take it out and toss it. Can put it in your bokashi bin or your recycle bin or whatever, your compost or whatever. But yeah, you can actually freeze, vacuum seal prepared meals, yes. Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the broth. It doesn't make nice soup stock or anything like that, because it's usually too salty and greasy, fatty off silverside. But if you keep your silverside in the broth, it will stay nice and moist. It will just be beautiful, lovely. It won't be an issue at all. Okay. Gosh, I've talked for a long time tonight, folks. See, I'm talking about something I love. Coconut cakes and freezers. So, okay. I know now, silverside is another one of those meats that's gone up in price. It used to be, I could get it for $3.99, $4.99 a If I paid $5.99 a kilo for it, I was like, oh my goodness, it's so expensive. Now, if I see it for $7.99 or $8.99, I will buy 3 or 4 pieces if I have the cash. Buy 3 or 4 pieces and put them in the freezer, because it's just another one of those meats that's so expensive. I think perhaps meat's going to just keep going up. It's just going to, you know, drought, exports, whatever. There'll be a plethora of excuses that they will have for the price of meat going up. It's just going to keep going up because it can. I think we need to stop thinking of meat as the main part of our meal and more as a condiment, more as a side dish, and start putting out our veggies and our grains, our pulses and things like that as the main part of the meal, and having just a little bit of meat as the accessory. That way we still get it, but we're not spending as much on it. We can stretch it that little bit further. There's plenty of other sources of protein. So if you're worried about not getting your protein, there's plenty of other sources of protein. There's plenty of other sources of your vitamins and minerals and your fats that you need. So cutting your meat down to making it just the garnish almost, depending if it's steak, it's going to be a garnish, of your meal. If you serve it up and you still put it on the plate nicely and then put everything around it so it looks like it's come out of a really fancy restaurant, no one's going to complain because it's appealing and it looks nice. If it's just plonked on and there's a little bit of meat and then whole blobs of salad veggies or mash and beans and pumpkin or whatever, and it doesn't look nice, then yes, there will be complaints. It's just the way we are made. But thinking about it as a side or as a condiment, as an embellishment to our meal, sort of helps. I know it helps me to justify buying the more expensive cuts, because yes, I might be paying more for them, but we're not eating as much. So yeah, I know, Vicky, times have changed. I remember lamb shanks were like, you know, the butcher would give them to you and you'd feed them to your dog. Now they're like $8.50 for two. $8.50 for 2 lamb shanks. Have you tried to buy a lamb flap, which my mum used to roll it out, and she'd make this stuffing mix with breadcrumbs and herbs and onion and whatever, and roll it up and cook it. And it was considered a poor man's meal almost. Now it's really expensive. It's gourmet. It's, you know, I'm not a fan of offal. I don't eat brains. I don't eat kidneys. Ugh. If you love them, that's lamb's fry. No, tripe. No, nothing like that. I just can't. But if you do, I bet you're paying for them. They're really expensive. Really, really expensive cuts now. And yet, you know, they were always sort of the throwaway parts of the beast. Anyway, all right. Yes, yeah, lamb shanks are like gold. I agree. Okay, guys, look, if you have any questions, type them up. Just remember, I'm on my own, and there is a bit of a delay. So between you typing in a question and it popping up so I can see it, and then me reading it and answering it, it takes a few seconds. But otherwise, try the coconut cakes for the weekend. Whoops, with or without icing. Please do. Coconut milk or coconut cream, they're interchangeable in most recipes. It's not very expensive. You shouldn't be paying more than $2 a tin for it. These ones were quite expensive, I noticed. Aldi sells coconut cream and coconut milk. Have a look at those. Coles sells the range. I think the one I used, I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it's here. This one was from Coles, and it was $2 for the tin. Coles used to have a savings brand. I think it was about $1.50. Depends what you like. Now, if you're not, here's a sneaky tip for you, back on the coconut cake recipe. If you're not a fan of the fat and you don't want to buy the low fat one, you can make your own coconut milk, and it's really quite simple. It's just evaporated milk, so 400 mils of evaporated milk and a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of coconut essence. So if you're using the skinny evaporated milk and the coconut essence, you will cut your fat content. If you're really worried about it, cut the fat content considerably. You will still have the taste, you'll still have the moisture in your cake. They may not be quite as moist for as long because they won't have the fat in them, but it still tastes good and it works. Okay. Right. Side of lamb for $9. Gosh, I saw one in the butcher. Who's that? That's Lisa. Lisa, I saw a side of lamb. I was tossing up whether or not we could afford it. A side of lamb in the butcher the other day, and it was $89. And it didn't even look that big. Okay. You're welcome, Vicky. Yes, please, everyone. If you like the recipe, like the show, thumbs up down there would be really good. I will post the recipe in the comments underneath after the show for you, but it is on the website. If you go to the Cheapskates Club website, if you can't find it, type in moist coconut cake in the search bar at the top right of the screen, and it will bring up the recipe for you. If you want to try the coconut cookies, go to the recipe file, click on biscuits, and scroll down because they're in alphabetical order, don't forget. So scroll down and you'll find the coconut biscuits, crisp coconut biscuits they're called. Condensed milk is so expensive because it is sweetened, but also because it's cooked for a long time. It's cooked down for a long time to thicken up. If you buy the tinned condensed milk, if you make it Moo condensed milk, it's really easy. It takes you less than a minute to make the equivalent of 2 tins, and it's about a third the price of the 2 tins these days. So it's worth mooing, and you cannot taste the difference. Now, Moo condensed milk will freeze, so if you don't want to use the 2 tins, you only need a half tin or whatever, freeze the rest, label it so you know what it is, because once it's frozen it just looks like creamy stuff. Label it so you know what it is. It will thaw, give it a stir and use it. You can do that. It will keep upside in your fridge, turn it upside down in the jar. It'll keep for about 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Okay, Narelle, go feed your animals, sleep tight. Okay, you'll have to go to the website, go to the Cheapskates Club website, type in Moo condensed milk, the recipe and the instructions will come up. I've done it, I think I've done it step by step. It's really easy. You cannot muck it up. It's really easy to do. It's powdered milk, butter, water, sugar. Yeah, Maureen, yes, it's an old, Maureen saying diabetes educator suggested the evaporated milk and coconut essence instead of the coconut milk because of the fat content, yeah. So, all right. Good night, Lorraine. Good night, Julie. And Julie and Rod. Okay. We could all eat condensed milk straight out of the tin, but it's not good for you. All righty. I will see you on Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay cool, stay happy. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. I will post the recipe down there for you with a link to the website so that you know where to find it later on. You can bookmark it, so it'll come back to you. These are nearly cool enough to put away before the fridge fairies descend. So I'll be doing that as soon as I've finished. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. It has been fun, even if I'm inside out and upside down. Okay, I'll see you on Tuesday. Good night.